All right, so we will go ahead and get started today. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I'm so glad to see you guys back again with me to learn some more about what we've got here at the IMAG. This week's theme is Junior Keepers, so we're going to be learning a lot about animals this week. We have a lot of fun animal activities and shows that we're going to do for you. I do know that you guys do not have your supply kits yet. That is A-okay. We're going to keep it simple today, and then when you get those supply kits, you can do the activities that are in there in your free time later today, before bed, whenever you want to do those. So the very first activity that we have today is a Meet the Keeper, and if you guys haven't come to our Meet the Keeper Zoom calls already, we do have one of the IMAG's education staff here to teach you about one of our animals. I do not know what the animal is yet, so it's going to be a surprise for everybody. So I'm going to invite Rebecca in here with our animal friend today. Oh.
All right, good morning, guys. So you are in Junior Keeper Camp. So we couldn't have a Junior Keeper Camp without animals. We're actually going to give you guys 2 animal Meet the Keepers this morning. So we're going to talk about just some of the different care that it takes to have some of these different animals. Now, this first one here is actually a really common pet. She might look familiar to you guys. One of you guys might have one, or you might even know someone that does, or you've seen them at the pet store. So this here is my friend Wicked, and she is a bearded dragon. Now, she's got that fancy name, bearded dragon, because people think that lizards look kind of like dragons, and they're not wrong, but she doesn't do anything crazy like breathe fire or anything like that. And then she gets the bearded part because she actually has an extra pouch of skin here right underneath her chin. And if she was scared that something in this room might try to eat her, she would actually be able to puff that chin out. She'd fill it full of air. And when she does that, the scales there will actually kind of turn around and they will look black. So it'll look like she grew this big black beard out of nowhere. And she's going to do that to try to scare off anything that might try to eat her. Now, these guys are native to Australia in the wild. So that's where they're found. They like to live in the deserts. And you'll notice she's got kind of this tannish brown color. So if you think about that, that's about the same color as the sand. So she is just going to sit there, cold-blooded, which means she needs some external heat to help her be warm. So she's going to sit on a rock or sit in the sand in the desert, and she's just going to hope that all of those predators can't see her. If she's sitting really still, hopefully they won't be able to see her at all, and she can sit there and warm up without any worries of being eaten. Now, like I said, these guys are not just found in the wild anymore. So you could go to pretty much any PetSmart, any pet store, and you're probably going to see tanks with lots of these guys. So when people usually get these guys as pets, they're normally babies. They're normally less than 6 inches long. So Wicked here is about 1.5 feet all the way from the tip of her nose to her tail. So that is about as big as they get. They can get close to 2 feet, but that's their absolute max size. So if you were ever thinking about getting one of these for a pet, it's really important to look through some of the different special care requirements that they have. So I said that she's cold-blooded, and if she was to live in the wild, she would be out in the sun all the time, getting all of this heat and sunlight. So in captivity, you have to kind of give her that same environment. So you have to buy special light bulbs, some that do heating and some that give her UVA and UVB rays, so that way it replicates like she's in the sun, so that way she can grow properly and get the proper nutrients. Now, another way that she's going to need those proper nutrients is through her food. So Wicked here is something called an omnivore. So people, or most people anyways, are omnivores. That just means that she eats a variety of foods, both plants and meat. So when these guys are little, they eat a lot of meat. They need to be eating lots and lots of bugs. So Wicked here loves to eat crickets, cockroaches, they'll even eat spiders, so all of those weird things with lots of legs. But she also has to eat salads. Now, I hate to say it, Wicked does like her bugs more than she likes her salads, which I don't blame her. I mean, if we're thinking of McDonald's to salad, I'll probably take my McDonald's over salad. I don't know if I'm quite ready to go for a cockroach yet, but Wicked loves to eat her cockroaches. We have to make sure she's got a variety of different special foods. And we actually also have to sprinkle things on her food. So to make sure that she's getting all the right vitamins and minerals, we actually sprinkle speckle powders that have things like vitamin A and calcium on her food. So that way she's able to grow, and she's got all of these scales, so she needs that calcium to be able to help grow her scales. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put Wicked back, and I'm going to bring out another animal and talk about the care of our other animal.
If you guys happen to think of any questions about Wicked while Miss Rebecca was talking, you can go ahead and put those in the chat. Once she's finished sharing our next animal with us, she can answer those for us before she goes.
All right. Now, this next animal is going to look a little bit crazy. So here I have my friend Chloe. And if you look here, she is wearing a diaper. Now, there's a very, very good reason for that. Chloe here is not the smartest animal in the whole world. And she really doesn't know where she is right now. So she doesn't know that we're doing a show. So for all she knows, she's just out in the grass, which means she could go to the bathroom at any minute. And she's really, really good at peeing everywhere when she does it. So I'm going to hold this diaper on her the whole time. I'm going to cross my fingers that I'm going to stay nice and dry, but there are no promises. No one tells you that when they say that you're going to take care of animals for your job. No one tells you that it's just going to be poop and pee all the time. But that's what it is. Most of the time, you're just a janitor. But they're pretty cute, so you usually just go along with it. Now, Chloe here, sometimes I hear people call her a turtle. Sometimes I hear people call her a tortoise. So whichever one you're thinking in your head, if you're sitting there thinking, yes, she's a turtle, you're right. But if you're sitting there in your head and thinking, yeah, she's a tortoise, you're also right. So technically, Chloe is a red-footed tortoise, but tortoises are actually still considered turtles. They're just a specialized type of turtle. So all tortoises are still turtles, but not all turtles are going to be tortoises. Now, there's a really good way to tell the difference with that. So one of the first things here, you can see Chloe's got this really big dome-shaped shell. Now, if you're thinking of turtles that you've seen in your pond, they're going to have really, really flat shells. That way they're able to easily move through the water, because it's going to be hard to move through the water when you've got this big bulking shell behind you. You're not going to be able to swim very well. So that's one of the easy ways to tell. And then another way is to look at their feet. So if you were to look at Chloe's little back legs here, they're really, really flat on the bottom. They actually look kind of like tiny little elephant feet. So they're flat just for stomping around on the land. And then if we look at her front feet are actually kind of angled backwards. Now, those feet are actually what she uses to dig. So she spends her day just stomping around, looking for food to eat and digging holes. So she is what's called a natural burrower. So that means she spends most of her day digging. So she might dig looking for food. She might dig looking for a house to live in. And she might even just dig for fun. Now that is actually one of the reasons that these guys do not always make the best pets if you are not planning ahead for them. So you might think that you can put your tortoise in a fenced-in backyard and that you'll be okay to go and run all of your errands for the day. But you might come home to a tortoise-sized hole right underneath your fence, and your tortoise might be nowhere to be found. Now, they don't move very quickly, but if you're gone for a really long time, they could be walking in any direction. They could just dig right out underneath that fence and keep going and going and going. So that means that if you want to have these guys as an outside enclosure, it's important to make sure that they cannot dig underneath it. So it either needs to have a more solid bottom underneath it, or you need to have a fence that digs into the ground. That way you don't have to risk them escaping. Now, another reason that these guys don't always make the best pets is that they live for a really, really long time. So if you guys have cats or dogs at home, cats or dogs live for an average of about 15 to 20 years. My friend Wicked the Bearded Dragon, those guys live for about 10 to 15 years. So that's pretty common for a lot of pets. It's right around that 15-year range. Now, Chloe here is right around 8 years old, and she's really still a baby. So these guys have an average lifespan of 50 to 60 years. So if you guys were to get one today, you might have that tortoise until you're 70. And if you get one when you're in college, you're probably going to have that tortoise the entire rest of your life, and maybe even longer. You might have to pass it on to your kids or your grandkids to take care of. So when you get a tortoise, you have to plan that you're going to have that thing for a very, very long time. And that's just not quite a commitment for everyone. Now, I did see someone say that they have tortoises in their backyard, and I 100% believe that because I have tortoises in my front yard. So here in Florida, the tortoises that we have are gopher tortoises. That's the only native tortoise here in Florida. But that doesn't mean that you won't sometimes see different tortoises walking around. So like I said, these guys are really good escape artists. So red-footed tortoises are actually native to South America, but you might see them walking around in Florida because they might have dug right through their fence that they were supposed to be staying in, and they might be wandering around. So if you ever see a tortoise that is not a gopher tortoise, it's a good idea to give FWC a call. So that's our Florida Wildlife Conservation. They will come and they will pick the tortoise up. They'll try to see if they can find an owner. But we don't want animals that don't belong in Florida just walking around here in Florida, because then they're going to start competing with our tortoises that do live here. Now, one of the most important things here about Chloe is this really, really big shell. It's really heavy, and it makes it kind of hard to hold her for a really long time. Now, talking about her shell, I want everyone to stop for a second and just feel your fingernails. So if you sit there and feel your fingernails, it's really like you're actually touching Chloe's shell. That is because fingernails are made out of the protein keratin, and that's the exact same protein that makes up Chloe's shell. The only difference is you can see that her shell is a lot thicker, a lot bigger. So by the time Chloe here is full grown, her shell will be almost 100 fingernails thick. Now, that is a very hard, very solid shell. She really doesn't actually have to worry about a whole lot trying to eat her. For most animals, it's not even worth the work. If you're going to try to break open that shell, there's not even a whole lot of meat inside. So by the time that these guys are full grown, they really don't have very many predators. One of the only predators of tortoises are actually people. And that's because we have fancy tools to break through the shells, whereas animals in the wild aren't going to have all of those same fancy tools. Now, like I said, if you're going to have one of these guys as a pet, you can see she's not super small and she loves walking around outside, so it's good to have an outside habitat for them. And just like with Wicked, they do need special lighting, so they need special UVB and UVA bulbs to help them get their sunlight when they're inside, and they still need those heating bulbs as well. And then you have to think about what she eats. Now, just like Wicked, Chloe here is an omnivore, so that means we're eating both meat and vegetables. So in the wild, she would sit there and she would pretty much eat anything green. That's grass, that's leaves, just fruit on the ground, pretty much anything she comes across. But she also needs to eat meat. So for these guys, you think she doesn't really move very quickly. I set her here on the table for a second. This is pretty much top tortoise speed. She's taking a break already. She's like, I don't even know what I'm going to do right now. So she's not really going to be chasing anything down in the wild. That takes way too much work, and honestly, she's probably going to miss it most of the time. So she is actually a scavenger. So if you guys ever see vultures and you see them eating those dead things on the side of the road, that's actually what red-footed tortoises do in the wild. So they will walk around and they will see if there's any other food that anyone else has eaten and left leftovers of, and she'll just go eat that leftover. So she'll eat roadkill, or she'll eat just leftovers that another animal left behind. So here in captivity, we don't quite give her just sticky, rotting meat because that would be kind of weird, but she actually gets baby food meat mash and special pellets that have all of the nutrients that she needs. Now, does anyone have any questions about my friend Chloe or my friend Wicked? If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box and I will do my best to answer any questions you guys have. And I will say it is always important before you guys get any pets, but especially before you get an exotic pet, so something that's not like a cat or a dog, it's always important to make sure that you do a lot of research on what they're going to need. So you think about your cats and dogs don't need all of these special lights, but if you get any sort of reptile, those are going to need all sorts of special lighting, and you never really know what type of food they're going to eat until you do some research. Like I said, you might not have thought that this tortoise here loves to eat icky, rotting meat, but that's important to find out before you get one because you want to make sure that you're feeding it right. And if you have something like our bearded dragon, they actually love to get things alive, so they don't like to eat dead bugs. So if you have a bearded dragon, that means you have to keep live bugs in your house, and that is just not for everyone. So I see one of our questions here is how would they get the nutrients they need in the wild? So talking about the stuff that we sprinkle on the food at the IMAG. So in the wild, they might be eating some slightly different foods. Like I said, here in captivity, Chloe is not going to be eating just rotting meat on the side of the road. And she might be eating bones as she's grinding away, which is how she's going to get some more of that calcium. So it's just kind of supplementing for the fact that she might not be eating the exact same foods, and they will get some of those foods. We just want to make sure that they're getting plenty, so we put some extra on their food. Any other questions for anyone? That was a great question, Fallon. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put Chloe away. She has not peed on my hand yet, so I'm going to put her away before that happens. I don't feel like smelling that all day. I hope you guys learned something and have a great day.
Thank you to Miss Rebecca for that Meet the Keeper show. For those of you that joined a little bit later, Miss Rebecca today showed us RedFooted Tortoise. That's who she just had in her hand. And then also one of our bearded dragons that we have here at the IMAG. We're going to see a lot more animals throughout our camp this week. We may have some pop into our morning show, just like this. We may also have some pop into your afternoon shows or during those optional Zoom calls. So I do want to tell you before we get started on anything else, I do have our optional Zoom calls right over here for you guys to see the times. I know a few of you have been joining me pretty regularly, and I love to see that, but I would love to see more of you there if you can make it. So our first optional Zoom call today is going to be at 10:45. That's just a little bit after our phone call will end this morning. And that Zoom call is an extended touch tank experience with our shrimp. So I believe Tiana was at our first touch tank last week. The touch tank is a pool-ish sort of thing that we've got here, tank at the IMAG, that whenever you come to visit, you can actually go right up to it and see our stingrays that we have here. We have 3 small male stingrays and 1 female, but also in that tank we have starfish, we have sea urchins, and we have shrimps that are a little bit harder to see. So if you want to get more information about those aquatic animals, 10:45 is going to be the Zoom call to do that today. And then a little bit later on at 12:45, so that's 2 hours later, we're going to have a live Science on a Sphere show. I know a couple of you went to those last week. Science on a Sphere is a science show where we're going to go through the planets in our solar system on a large 3D sphere that we've got here in the IMAG. It'll be another one of our educators. It might be Miss Rebecca back to join us and tell us a little bit about the planets that we have here in our solar system and maybe something else as well. And then the very last call today, you're definitely going to want to go to this if you can. It's at 2:30. It is our Intro to Animal Care tour. So here at the IMAG, we do have quite a few living animal facilities that you can see. During the Intro to Animal Care tour, we will actually be taking you around to see those animal exhibits. We'll explain our living lab, our aquatic areas, our fish tanks, and things like that. So I definitely would encourage you to join those calls if you are able to. In the calls, there's usually fewer people there, so you can actually chat your questions and I can ask the educator for you. We can also get a lot more up-close shots of the animals during that too, so if you want to see them nice and big, that's the show to go to. All right, so yes, there will be snakes later on this week. Let me see. We will be seeing a snake in our tour for sure. We'll see them in their tanks. But it looks like on Wednesday we'll have a snake show for you. So we might see them here or there in between that, but we definitely have a snake scheduled for Wednesday for you guys. So just for a little bit of fun, I do have an animal trivia quiz for you guys. It's only 5 questions, and it's not graded, so it's okay if you get the questions wrong. I just want to see your best guesses. What you're going to do to answer the question, I'm going to read the question, I'm going to show you your multiple choice options, and then you are going to put what you believe to be the right answer in the chat box for me to see. And then once we get most of everybody answered, I'll reveal the correct answer to you. All right, so the very first question for our animal trivia game is, I am a reptile. I have a shell with a lot of yellow coloring. While most of my species are aquatic, I tend to be terrestrial or live on land. What am I? And then here are your options. Hold them a little closer for you to see. We have a rat snake, B, an ornate box turtle, C, a tegu, or D, a red-eyed tree frog. So I'll give you guys a moment to answer that. What do we think? We think B so far. Again, it's a reptile. It has a shell with a lot of yellow coloring. And while most are aquatic, I tend to be terrestrial. All right, lots of B's. Love to see it. That is actually correct. It is an ornate box turtle. All right. Number 2. That was a great job, guys. You really got that one. All right, number 2. I live underwater. I am orange, white, and black. I am with a type I am a type of fish that a Disney film made famous. What am I? A snook. B, a tangfish. C, a clownfish. Or D, a scatfish. Disney made them popular. That should be pretty easy. All right, lots of C's coming in. Love to see it. The correct answer is yes, C, a clownfish. That is the type of fish that Nemo is in Finding Nemo. All right. All right, time for number 3. I live in a dry space. I am a reptile. I have a triangular shaped head with spikes all along my sides. I am yellow/orange in color, and I am an omnivore. What am I? Our answers are A, a Chinese water dragon. B, a bearded dragon, just like Wicked we just saw. C, a sulcata tortoise. Or D, a tegu. All right, lots of B's. Yes, that is correct. It is a bearded dragon, just like Wicked we just saw. All right. And then our last question for our short little quiz. This one here starts with, I live underwater. I have zebra-like stripes. I am considered an invasive species in Florida. An invasive species means it's not supposed to be here. What am I? We have A, a clownfish or Nemo. B, a tangfish. C, a lionfish. Or D, a snook. It's got stripes, it's invasive to Florida. We actually have 2 of these on display here at the IMAG. All right, lots of C's. Yes, it is a lionfish, correct. All right, you guys did a great job. I didn't see one wrong answer the entire time. You guys really know your stuff. All right, so the last thing that we are going to do before we end this Zoom call and then, get started with the rest of our day, I am going to show you guys how to set up a brine shrimp habitat. This is going to be in your kit when you do get it later on. It looks just like this. Everything should be bagged for you this week. And this one is called Monday Activity 2. In this bag, you're going to find a few different things. Got this little baggie with a container of salt. Yes, Leland, exactly that one. So Leland, you can actually work with me. Everyone else, just follow along, and then when you do get your kit, you can set this up on your own. So we've got a small portion cup of salt here, and then we've got this Tupperware container, which if you open it up, we've got another little portion cup that says shrimp brine eggs. And then you'll also need out of your bag a water bottle. So there should be a small water bottle in there for you to use too. All right, so now that I've got all of that out, I want to tell you guys a little bit about brine shrimp. Has anyone ever heard of brine shrimp before? I've never heard of brine shrimp before this. So brine shrimp have another very common name you guys probably have heard. They are usually called sea monkeys. So sea monkeys, if you buy like a sea monkey kit from like Walmart or anything, and you grow them in your home in a little tank, they are actually called brine shrimp. So I'll show you this picture here, what they look like up close. So that's the evolution of a brine shrimp right there. They're going to start super, super tiny in an egg, and that egg is actually smaller than a period on a piece of paper. And then they're going to grow into these big, crazy things right here. So when you get your kit, you'll actually be able to set this up yourself and watch them grow. I actually have started one over here over the weekend, and I do see my little guys swimming around, but they're so teeny tiny that the camera definitely wouldn't be able to see it yet. So as soon as you get your stuff, I would go ahead and get this set up so you can see them grow. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do when you get your supplies is fill your container with water. That is super, super easy. So I'm just going to pour my water into my Tupperware container here. Got it nice and full. And then we're going to want to salinate the water. That is where we are going to add salt to the water. Brine shrimp and sea monkeys do or are able to live in fresh water or tap water from your sink, but they live better in salt water like the ocean. So just because they can live in tap water, it doesn't mean it's necessarily the healthiest area for them to live in. So we're gonna actually go ahead and add some salt to our water and make it nice and salty for our shrimp before we put their eggs in. Now, in your little cup, you got quite a bit of salt in there. I would recommend only pouring maybe like a spoonful into there. That way it mixes in real good. You don't want salt sitting at the bottom. So we'll take it easy. Stir. I'm gonna use a pencil to stir today. So I'm just gonna pour maybe like half of my thing in there, my salt. And I'm going to stir it around until the salt is dissolved. And that's very important. What you're making here is salt water. So the more you stir, the more it's going to actually dissolve into the water. And then once you see no more crystals floating around in the bottom, you have officially made salt water. All right. So that is actually the hardest part of setting up the brine shrimp habitat. The next thing that you're going to do once you've made your salt water for your shrimp to live in is you're just going to go ahead and put your eggs in there. Now I will show you. These eggs are super, super tiny. And you'll see this when you get your kit too. They are so small. So look at all those guys in there. So these are all brine shrimp that you could start growing in your shrimp habitat. So I'm going to go ahead and pour mine in. And what you want to do is you want to mix them up so that they get into the water and that they can start hatching. Sometimes they'll start hatching right away and you'll see the little white shrimp swimming around in the water as soon as you finish mixing it up. You want to mix it for, about a minute. Just so they all get down in there. All right, that's probably good. Let's see. None of mine have hatched yet, but that's okay. The other one that I have here, I actually made over the weekend. So they're a little bit bigger for me, easier to see, and starting to swim around. So for your brine shrimp, you just want to set those to the side. The water, if you just leave it sitting here unopened, the water will evaporate throughout the day. If the water evaporates and it starts to lower here, you can just add some more salt water to your little container. What I like to do is I just like to lightly sit my lid on the top so that if that water evaporates, it's going to pop by the lid and it's going to stay in the container. But I'm not pushing it on and just sitting it there. You want to put this in a place where it's not going to get knocked over or bumped, maybe up on a shelf, on the counter somewhere where everyone can check it out throughout the day. Because in the next few days, you will start to see those shrimp growing and swimming around in your container. Another thing that you will have in your bags is a small bag of yeast. Yeast is actually food for brine shrimp, so you can feed them just a small pinch of yeast every few days. If you put the yeast in and nobody's eating it, don't add any more. You want to wait until they've eaten all of the yeast from their container before you give them more food. If too much food sits in there, the water will get cloudy and they won't be happy living in there. So just be careful when you're adding your food. Maybe ask mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, someone to help you out with that for sure. All right. I'm gonna put these over to the side carefully so I don't knock them over and spill my little guys everywhere. So I want to share a few more things with you guys. You will be getting your activity kits later, just like with the Jedi Camp, you'll have a paper bag with all of your materials inside, and they will come in plastic baggies for you, just like this, and they'll be sorted. So tomorrow and the next day, you will be able to do the activities alongside me. Let's see. All right. So after the brine shrimp habitat, like I said earlier, the next thing we have is our 1045 touch tank experience. That's going to be on Zoom, just like this, but it is going to be in that optional programs link. So that was last week, that was posted in your Google Classroom. We'll let your teacher verify that later on for us, but it'll be an optional program link. You'll click it. We may have a few students from another camp join us on there. And again, you'll be able to put your questions in the chat and we'll get those answered for you by one of our educators here at the IMAG. After that Zoom call at 12:45, we've got the live Science on a Spear show. That's one of my favorite shows, so I would love to see you guys there. Leland, awesome. Love to see your shrimp. They're going to do great in there. Let's see. And then after that at well, let's see here. And then after that, 2:30, you'll have that intro to animal care tour. So we'll be going around our facility, taking a look at some of our animals that we've got here on the property, and then throughout the week, we'll be learning more about them in depth. So when you do get your bag, because it will be after we've already met face-to-face, you can go ahead and make your brine shrimp habitat. I would love to see in the next few days in the chat people telling me how their brine shrimp are doing. Hopefully they start to get pretty big after a couple of days of your habitat sitting there. There's also going to be some extra activities in your bag that you can do in your free time. You can save them for later. One of those activities is a Stingray resist painting. What resist paintings are, it's where you take a white crayon, color something on a sheet of paper, and then use watercolors over it. And because of the wax from the white crayon, the watercolor actually won't stick there on the paper. So this is something I did on Friday. It's a watercolor resist painting of a stingray swimming through the ocean. He's got some seaweed going on there. Excuse me. The other Monday activities that you will see in your bag are a salt dough sea star activity. So there's going to be all of the supplies for salt dough. That's what Leland's holding up right now. Salt dough is really easy to make. If you were here on Friday, we made some dough and we actually made a couple different things with that dough. One thing that you can make is a sea star. So I actually made this out of my salt dough. It sat here in this classroom for 2 days and it is completely hard. So now if I wanted to, I could paint this pink. I could paint it like one of our chocolate chip starfish that are downstairs. I can paint it however I'd like. Another Monday activity in your bag is going to be this little 3D turtle guy that you can color and make on your own. It's just about as big as my hand. And he's going to come on a sheet of paper just like this. He's labeled as Monday number 4. So you're going to color him in, cut out around the lines, and then we'll tape them together to make a little 3D turtle like I've got here. All right, and then the last Monday activity that you'll see in your bag is the Stingray coffee filter. So this activity, it's actually really fun to do. You're going to cut a Stingray out of a coffee filter that you've got in the bag, and then you're going to color on it with markers and add water to it. So there will be a little pipette, which is a tool that you can use to pick up just a little pinch of water and then squirt it onto your coffee filter here. And when you squirt it onto the marker, it's actually going to disperse and diffuse into the coffee filter. So it looks like I tie-dyed this, which looks really cool, but I didn't. I just colored it with some markers the other day, added some water, and now it looks really cool. So you can do all kinds of different designs and colorings for your Stingrays. All right. So that is the end of our morning show today. First, I would like to give your other teacher a chance to say anything. If you've got anything you want to share with them, let them know. Oh, let's see. Great. Does anybody have any questions for me before we go today?
No.
That's fun. Leland, I'm glad. All right, so I hope to see all of you guys, if you can make it at 10:45. That's in 1 hour at the call for the touch tank. I'll be there to answer any questions that you guys have. And again, that's in the optional Zoom call link. So you're just gonna click that, join us there, and we will show you everything to do with our touch tank. All right, and I believe it's posted in Google Classroom. Did I get confirmation on that? Should be. Yeah, it should be there. All right, so if there are no more questions for me, you guys can go ahead and get going, enjoy your next hour, and I will see you guys at 10:45.